Hello everybody, my name is Tenelin, and today we're going to be talking about Aethersands. Aethersands are a material used in a ton of high-end crafting recipes, which makes the demand for them relatively high for most of the expansion. There are a couple of different ways that you can gather some of them, so we're going to be talking about a few of the different methods, and I'll also be giving my recommendations on how you should get them. You will have to have a gathering set with at least 4,831 gathering and perception to be able to hit the maximum collectability on your gathering skills for this method when you're gathering the level 100 node. There are a few of them that are at lower levels, and unfortunately I'm not sure the exact stats that you need to hit, but the easiest way you can tell is to go up to a collectible node and take a look at what the baseline collectability would be if you were to just hit Scour. You're looking to be able to get 200 collectability while using Scour with no skills, as that is the maximum that you can get. If you're not seeing that 200 and you are seeing something lower, then you haven't hit the minimum stats needed to get the full collectability, but it is something you can still gather if you want. It just won't be as effective. As well, there's some breakpoints to get your intuition rate up, but that doesn't matter nearly as much as just being able to get to the 200 collectability. If you aren't able to hit those stats yet, I would recommend checking out my Materia farming guide and working on getting your melds to the baseline recommended stats. Before we get into the methods though, I do want to talk a little bit more about what Aethersands are, what they're used for, and why you should care. These Aethersands are going to be used to craft the new Master Recipe combat gear that will be coming out in 7.05, which is released on July 30th, so we can get ahead of the curve and start gathering them now for either use in our own crafts or to sell to others for use in their crafting, both of which will be excellent ways to farm some gil. Currently, we have 4 different types of Aethersands that we'll be looking to gather here. The first 3, the Mythloam, the Mythbrine, and the Mythroot Aethersands, will be used to directly craft the new gear, as you can see in this example here, where in Endwalker we had the Endstone, Endwood, and Endtide Aethersands. The fourth one will be the Sungilt Aethersand, which will be used to craft the Alkehests, which are the essence of the stat for the gear you are making, in this case Strength here, which is acting in the same way that the Moonlight Aethersands worked in Endwalker. The SunGIL will also be used in the new Gem Droughts, which are the combat potions that are used by raiders, which are a consumable item that will be very popular during Savage raids. At the time that I'm filming this, which is before 7.05's release, the Sungilt's Aethersands are selling for about 2,500 gil, while the Mythloam, Brine, and Root are selling for about 7,000 to 9,000, just depending on the day. They aren't moving a lot of volume just yet because they do have minimal uses, so we'll have to see what the actual prices settle down to once they do have those uses on July 30th. As I mentioned before, there are different ways in which we can gather them, but there are 2 main methods that we're going to be using today. The first one is gathering the collectibles via ephemeral nodes that are timed nodes that will pop up on the map, and they will have multiple locations that they spawn over and over again for the duration that they're around. On each of the locations, there will be 3 different nodes that will pop up, and you'll just want to do a rotation between each 3 of them as they are around for about 11 minutes. The second method that we're going to be using is Collectable Spearfishing, which I'll show you as well. With both of these methods though, you will be looking to get collectible items that you're going to break down with Ethereal Reduction, a function that you can find under Actions and Traits, the General tab on the left, and then use this button here. You can drag this down to your hotbar for ease of use, as I have done here, and as you gather the items that we're looking to get in this video, you want to open up this menu, click one of them to reduce, and once it completes, you'll be able to click Automatic to continue doing the rest. A fantastic side effect of doing this gathering is that you also get a good amount of clusters and crystals, so make sure to keep an eye on your inventory so you don't overcap on them. To make this video a bit more organized, I'm going to talk about the collectible rotation for the ephemeral nodes to start, and this will be the same rotation that you'll use for any of these nodes. We're going to be using a more active method of a 700 GP rotation and a 0 GP rotation, just depending on how much we have when we're at a node. This allows us to utilize full uptime on each of the nodes and gives us a chance to get revisit procs to get the free GP and a respawn on the node. It also allows us to hit the minimum collectability on any of these items, which will give us a chance of getting additional Aethersands from them, but at the very least, we will get some clusters and crystals. I prefer this method because it just allows us to continue moving around instead of hitting one node and waiting for our GP to regenerate. Let's head over to our first node here, the electrical, which will give us Sungilt Aethersands, and I'll demonstrate everything that I mean there. A quick note that you'll see is that I used raid markers to set up where all of the nodes are going to be when I arrive to make it a little bit easier to just rotate through them, as they will respawn in these general locations over and over, and I just find this to be a lot easier than having to remember which direction I need to go after each node. I find that this allows me to just be a little less focused while I'm gathering. When we get to our first node, we're going to want to use Scrutiny and then Meticulous, and then another Scrutiny and Meticulous. And now, depending on how much collectability you've hit, there is a chance that you'll hit 1,000, which then you'll just go ahead and gather and use either Wise to the World or Solid Reason to get additional integrity. There is a chance that you only hit 800, which is a little unlucky, but all you'll want to do is then scour to get to 1,000, again, Ageless Words or Solid Reason, and get some additional integrity there. Or if you're above 850 collectability, you can just freely use your Meticulous to hit 1,000. Or if you hit a Collector's Intuition and you're not at 1,000 collectability, just go ahead and Meticulous and hope that you save another integrity. Now, something to keep in mind here is that with the addition of the Collector's High Standard, if after your first hit you are at 500 collectability with your Meticulous proc and you hit Collector's High Standard, a combination of a Scrutiny plus a Brazen hit will get you a guaranteed 550, which will put you at 1,000 collectability. Or you can continue with a Scrutiny plus Meticulous and have a higher percentage chance of saving an integrity and just risk maybe not hitting 1,000 collectability. Either way, they're pretty close in how the math ends up working out, but technically the Meticulous does have a higher yield at such a small difference that it doesn't matter. This is kind of an opinionated choice for yourself, whether or not you want to gamble to get an integrity saved, or you'd just rather get the 1,000 collectability. This will spend 700 GP, and depending on how much you have, you should have some left over. If you have a cordial available, go ahead and pop that, and if it puts you above 700, you'll do this rotation again on the next node. But if you don't have 700, what you're going to do is go to a node and just hit Scour 2 times to hit the 400 collectability, which is all you need to be able to get a chance of getting an Aethersand. If after your first Scour, you do get a Collector's Intuition proc, you'll want to go ahead and Meticulous and just hope that you do save an integrity and get an extra gather out of it. Now, these ones at 400 aren't guaranteed to give you an Aethersand, but they do have a chance of doing so, so it just allows us to get a little bit extra. And we're really just looking to hit the revisit procs. Now that we understand the collectible rotation we are going to be using, let's talk about each of the sands. The Sunlit that we are gathering here at the Electrocoal has this one along with the Gold Branch node and an additional spearfishing method to get the Sunlit Prism, making this one of the easiest sands you can get. The timed nodes are the Electrocoal, which is found at Heritage Found, and the Gold Branch, which is found at Shaloni. Both of these will be in the Teamcraft alarm group that I have linked in the description, so don't forget to check that out. If you aren't sure how to use that, I did put up a Teamcraft alarm overlay guide that you can find on my channel to help you out. For the spearfishing, this is something that is always up no matter the time, so if that's more your style or you're in between nodes spawning, head on over to Yaktel to the northeast section of the map. Now, this is just an important note. I got baited here the first time I went to go try to gather this, so I'm going to show you what the issue that I had was. The nodes that you're looking for this particular fish are at the 1, 2, and 3 markers, not the A, B, and C markers. There are 6 level 100 nodes in this water, but 3 of them are not the ones we want, and I could not figure out what was going on the first time I went there. So be careful and be certain you're getting these 3 nodes at the numbers. Once you arrive at the location, always make sure to check that you have your collect skill on so that you are gathering these fish as collectibles. You'll want to go ahead and open up the node and immediately hit a Nature's Bounty so that you can increase the chance that the fish that you catch are large, which will make the collectability higher and give you more sand. For these nodes, we're looking for a small, faster fish. It's not necessarily the fastest, but it can honestly be a little difficult to determine which is which. You're looking for the fish to hit the center line, and you're going to press the gig button to stab it when it passes through. I will say that spearfishing is one of the higher reward but higher risk methods. You will have a couple of times that you'll just not see the fish on a node, and a couple of times that you'll see 4 to 5 of them. Because of the randomness of these fish, you will get between 6 to 10 Aethersands rather than the 2 to 4 that you get doing the ephemeral nodes, so it'll just depend on whether or not this is something that you enjoy or you're a bigger fan of the ephemeral nodes. Either way is a great way to get these Aethersands though, so pick which one you have the most fun with. Next up, we have the Mythroot sand, which only has one single location of volcanic grass, which can be found in living memory at the Ley Node Pyro to the northwest at coordinates 27-7. Here are the areas that these nodes spawn in. Again, these are just standard ephemeral nodes, so you'll do the same thing that we did earlier. And then as well, we have the Mythloam, which is the Brightwind Ore at Ley Node Arrow at around 10-11 on the same map in living memory. Finally, we have the Mythbrine Aethersand, which is at another spearfishing location that is always up at this location here. We are looking for the long-nosed gar, which is a large, very fast fish. Again, make sure that you turn on your collect skill anytime you go to spearfish, and don't make the mistake of catching a bunch of them and realizing you didn't have it on. Just as we did with the other fish, you're going to want to go ahead and start with the Nature's Bounty every time you get into the node. You're looking to spear the fish with the gig skill, and then again, you're going to have to use Nature's Bounty between every single fish. This just makes it so they have a higher chance of being larger, again, to increase the collectability so that you get more sands. But that's all of the Aethersands. Some random added advice that I would like to provide is to be using your cordials as often as you can, especially on the ephemeral nodes, to increase the amount of times you can do the 700 GP rotation to get the full 1000 collectability. As well, while spirit bonding is not the best on these nodes, you will get a little bit, so for me, I always recommend just running a spirit bond potion just to speed it up slightly. That's all though. I hope this video was helpful and you learned something new about Aethersand gathering, and you are able to take advantage of this to get yourself prepped up for 7.05. If you found this video helpful, please leave a like and consider subscribing as it really helps me out. Good luck and have a great day.